Take a second and really think about that first time you heard a Jackson song. Try to picture where you were. Maybe you're in the kitchen, your mom is tinkering with the stove, and one of their songs flows through the radio. She cranks the volume up, maybe snaps her fingers to the beat, acting on pure muscle memory. Or maybe you're at a middle school dance, nerves jangling in your chest, and suddenly, one of those undeniable songs kicks in. For a minute, everyone forgets about being awkward. Everybody's feet start moving, like the song is flipping a switch inside all of you. Or, it's late, you're driving somewhere, headlights lighting up a lonely stretch of road, and that familiar melody starts playing. For the next few minutes, whatever worries you were holding on to just fall away. Your whole world seems to light up. You feel alive. That's the kind of thing the Jacksons did and still do for so many people. Their music doesn't stay inside the speakers. It grabs you, gets under your skin, and refuses to let go. Lately, I keep thinking about the Jacksons. Not just the music, though. Let's be real. It's impossible to ignore how those songs stay with you. But there's the story behind it all. When you step back and look at the whole Jackson family, 9 siblings, each on their own path, yet bound together by something larger, it's way bigger than a discography. It's messy and complicated, sometimes joyful, sometimes painful. It's about pushing through and surviving, and sometimes even thriving against the odds. It's the kind of story that doesn't just rest on platinum records. It's a story that honestly needs patience to tell, space to breathe, the kind of space where you can really listen. So, that's what we're going to do today. Get comfortable, whether it's with a coffee or curled up on your couch, because we're diving into the story of the family that reshaped music forever. All of them, not just the superstars, and how each of their lives twined together and pulled apart. Every great story has a beginning, so let's start there. Picture Gary, Indiana for a second. It's not a city that gets name-dropped in glitzy music biographies. It's a steel town, close to Chicago, where the days run long and the work is tough. Now imagine this, 11 people packed inside a 2-bedroom house. That's what Joseph and Catherine Jackson called home for their family. 2 bedrooms. 10 kids plus 2 parents. Just for a moment, consider the chaos and the closeness that comes with that. Not a lot of elbow room. Makes you wonder how they managed it. I'll be honest, most days it feels like an achievement to keep groceries stocked, let alone keep a family like that moving forward. Joseph put in hours at the steel mill, took on real grinding work. But he also had music in his blood. He played in a little R&B group called the Falcons when he wasn't on shift. Catherine, on the other hand, brought a quieter musicality to the house. She played piano and clarinet, and her faith as a Jehovah's Witness shaped everything the family did. Each in their own way, they made music a constant presence, like a heartbeat humming underneath the family's ordinary days. And those seeds, music, discipline, faith, started to grow. The Jackson kids came in this order: Rebbie, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, LaToya, Marlon, Michael, Randy, and Janet. 9 siblings, each with their own personalities, their own strengths and struggles. Think about what it takes for that many siblings, each so different, to come together and create something that couldn't happen with any one of them alone. What's amazing is that, together, they weren't just a family, they became a force that no one in the music world had ever seen before. Now, the way it all kicked off is one of those stories you almost can't make up. It started with Tito, full name Toriano Adderall Jackson, born in October 1953. He was the 3rd Jackson kid, and he just couldn't stay away from his dad's guitar. Without anyone really teaching him, Tito figured out how to play, sneaking around to practice when no one was watching. One day, Joseph caught him. You'd expect a lecture, maybe even punishment, but Joseph just stared at his son and realized there was real music there. That spark, that was a big turning point, and Joseph wanted to see where it could go. He told Tito to form a group with his brothers, and that's how it started. It's wild to think about how one moment, one parent seeing something special in their kid, set off a chain reaction that changed music everywhere. Jackie and Jermaine jumped in next, then Marlon, and finally, Michael, the little brother, barely old enough to tie his own shoes, but somehow blessed with a voice that could stop you in your tracks. They started out as the Jackson Brothers, playing whatever local shows they could get, backed by a dad who ran a tight ship, maybe too tight if we're being honest. There's a lot to unpack about Joseph's intensity, but there's no denying he saw what his kids could do and refused to let their talent go to waste. Their first step into the music world came in 1967 with a little label called Steeltown Records, where they dropped their first single. But things exploded in 1969. That's when Motown came calling. Berry Gordy, the big time. Suddenly, they were the Jackson 5, and their songs weren't just radio hits, they were events. Songs like I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, I'll Be There. These tracks didn't just soundtrack parties, they marked big moments in people's lives. Some songs just live with you, you know? I'll Be There is still making people cry in grocery store aisles. Even all these years later, that's staying power. That's the real deal. Here's something that still frustrates me though. Even though Tito was the one who started it all with his guitar, Motown never let him play on the group's records. They brought in session musicians instead. Think about that. The kid who learned guitar by tinkering in his bedroom, the one who helped launch his whole family's career, wasn't allowed to actually play on their songs. That didn't change until they left Motown and joined Epic Records in 1976. That's when you could finally hear Tito's playing, just the way it was meant to sound. The Jackson story is packed with these twists, the small details that make everything feel more real. It's so much more than chart numbers or headlines. It's about risks, encouragement, hard choices, and sometimes people who never quite got the credit they deserved. Their journey is a reminder that history isn't just in the big flashy moments, but also in every little choice, every small act of courage, every kid hiding out to make music of his own. And honestly, that's what keeps their story alive every time the needle drops and one of those songs comes on. Tito Jackson, what a guy. He just kept showing up, kept playing, and kept giving his all, even when he wasn't really getting the recognition he deserved. That quiet strength, that steady perseverance under the radar tells you volumes about who he was. When we lost Tito in 2024, the music world said goodbye to someone who wasn't just talented. He was a gentle giant, one of the originals. More than that, he helped build one of the greatest musical empires ever, but somehow he rarely got enough credit for it. While the brothers blazed through history, the Jackson sisters were busy carving out their own paths. And honestly, we should take a moment to talk about them, because the women in the Jackson family don't always get their due. Rebbie Jackson, the firstborn, the pioneer. She made a choice that set her apart. At 18, she married Nathaniel Brown. In a family where fame was everywhere, Rebbie chose a quieter kind of life. She built her home, raised her children, even as her brothers toured the world and flashed across TV screens everywhere. Her father didn't want her to marry. Her mother backed her up. Rebbie, steady as ever, went with her gut. Eventually, music found her. Her debut album, Centipede, dropped in 1984. And Michael, who was basically a superstar by then, produced the title track for her. That's what family does. He believed in her, wanted to lift her up, and showed it the way only a Jackson could. Rebbie kept making music throughout the 80s, pulled in real sales, but always put her family first. She and Nathaniel were together for 45 years. 45. That's no small feat. Not in a family that's seen its share of breakups and drama. Her story is one of loyalty, love, and quiet strength. It's the kind of thing people should celebrate more. Then you've got LaToya Jackson. Where to begin? She was the first sister to break out and try a solo career. Her debut album hit in 1980, and she found success on European dance charts. But her story isn't just about the music. In 1987, she cut ties with the family's management, left the Encino compound, and went out on her own at 31. It takes guts to do that, but the years that followed were rough. She got tangled up with Jack Gordon, a manager with a reputation for being controlling, some say abusive. During that time, she made choices she later regretted, including public statements about Michael that she took back eventually. She posed for Playboy, put out several albums fast, but they weren't always her best. There was a Moulin Rouge run, a cabaret show that ended in a lawsuit. You can see a woman caught in the whirlwind, lost for a while. She left one kind of control and ended up with another. It took years for LaToya to find herself, reconnect with family, and stand on her own again. She's opened up about domestic abuse, turned her experiences into advocacy for others. Hers isn't a story of chart-topping hits, but it's survival, and there's a kind of courage there that shouldn't be overlooked. But then, Janet Demita Jo Jackson, born on May 16, 1966, the youngest. Somehow, she didn't just join the show, she took over. She became one of the biggest recording artists anywhere, ever. Imagine what it takes, growing up in Michael's shadow, in a family where fame is the norm, and still deciding to write your own story. Janet started out on family TV shows, acted in Good Times, dropped a couple of albums that were sweet, but nothing earth-shattering. Then came 1986. She put out Control, named for the reality she was grabbing. With that, she announced herself. Janet wasn't just Michael's little sister, she was her own force. What have you done for me lately? Nasty. Those tracks weren't just catchy, they shouted, I know my value. Janet was a young black woman demanding respect, and it resonated. Still does. She didn't stop. Rhythm Nation 1814 came in 1989. A crazy mix of dance hits and powerful social messages on inequality, injustice, all of it. 7 top 10 hits on one album. 7. Janet wasn't following anyone. She was setting the pace. Then came Janet. In 1993, The Velvet Rope in 1997, bravely talking about pain, mental health, things most pop stars wouldn't touch. She kept reinventing herself, digging deeper, offering new sides of who she was. You can't talk about Janet without mentioning the Super Bowl incident in 2004. That wardrobe malfunction became international news, even though it lasted less than a second. And the fallout? Janet shouldered almost all of it. She got blacklisted from radio, lost out on award shows, doors just slammed shut. Meanwhile, the other artist involved moved on like nothing happened. Headlined more Super Bowls. The double standard was wild. Janet deserved better. But honestly, she's the kind of artist who keeps going. Statuesque, unbowed, quietly brilliant. The Jackson brothers made headlines, but the sisters pushed boundaries. And, in so many ways, still do. Let's start with Janet. She just didn't stop. When people tried to dim her light or push her aside, she kept on working. She kept putting out music, taking her show on the road, and showing the world exactly who she was. Over and over again. The industry finally caught up. In 2019, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame put her where she always belonged. About time. But you can't talk about the Jacksons without digging into the tangled, messy, and sometimes beautiful lives of the brothers. Each one brought something different to the table. Each carried his own burdens. Take Jermaine. Born in 1954, number 4 in the lineup, he was right there from the start of the Jackson 5. Jermaine and Michael, side by side, voices wrapping around each other, Jermaine's baritone balancing Michael's wild, soaring notes. Then came the big split in 1975. The family left Motown for Epic, but Jermaine stayed behind. Tied to Motown by his marriage to Hazel Gordy, Berry Gordy's daughter, he chose love and loyalty to Motown over lining up with his brothers. That had to sting for everyone. Imagine watching your whole family walk out to seize a new chapter, and you're not on the bus with them. Jermaine found his own path, made solo records, wandered onto reality TV, married 3 times, had 7 kids. And in 2025, he announced a Jackson Museum that honors Michael and the rest. No matter what rough edges or arguments have lived in that family, and there are plenty, Jermaine's commitment to keeping Michael's legacy alive never faded. Then there's Marlon. Born in 1957, he stayed a little off to the side, out of the spotlight. He and Michael were close, almost like twins at heart, because Marlon's actual twin, Brandon, died just after birth. Michael, in a way, filled that empty space in Marlon's life. That's a bond forged in grief as much as in love. Marlon released one solo album in 1987, then faded into a quieter life. He married young, to a woman he met while touring, and they've been together for decades. In the middle of all the breakups and wild romantic stories in the Jackson family, their steady marriage is quiet, remarkable proof that something lasting can grow out of all that chaos. Jackie, the oldest brother, born in 1951. His grandfather called him Jackson Boy, Jackie for short, because he felt like the family's namesake. Jackie was the first to see that Michael had something special, and he fought to get that little kid a spot in the group. His personal life, though, hit more bumps than his calm older brother image suggests. Still, through everything, his loyalty to his family never waned. The pride in what they built together is obvious every time you see him speak about it. Then there's Randy. Not the oldest or the youngest, but the one who had to step up when Jermaine left. Randy was just 16 when he co-wrote Shake Your Body Down to the Ground with Michael. 16, and that song still lights up parties today. He showed just how deep the Jackson gift really ran. And then Michael. Where do you even start with him? The king of pop, off the wall. Thriller, the record that broke records and set the bar higher than anyone thought possible. Bad, the moonwalk, that one sparkly glove. Sometimes his talent just felt impossible, like it couldn't possibly fit inside one person. Michael changed music, dance, style. He changed what people thought was possible. When Michael died in June 2009, it was the kind of loss that still lingers everywhere. You can feel it every time someone tries to moonwalk or hears those first notes of Billie Jean. That ache, that thrill, it's still there. When Michael passed, the Jacksons closed ranks, just the way they always had, through every high and every heartbreak. They did the same when their father, Joe, died in 2018, and again in 2024 when Tito, another brother, was gone. It's consistent. Say what you will about their story, but when it matters, the Jacksons show up. That's the part about this family that just gets me. They're not perfect. Who is? They have wounds that run deep, a tough father, impossible hopes pressed on small shoulders, all eyes on them from the very start. The world saw their fights, their messy breakups, their regrets. Some chapters in their story hurt so much you almost want to look away. But in the end, they don't. They never look away from each other. When something profound happens, they come together. Always. 9 kids came from a tiny 2-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana. 9 real, complicated, creative people who took the music planted in their souls and gave it to millions. They made the songs that still soundtrack graduations, weddings, kitchen dance parties, and lazy afternoons. They made us want to move, believe, dream. They showed us that grit, talent, and yes, even messy love can take you further than you ever think. Sometimes I picture all those girls who saw Janet and thought, I could do that. She looks like me. Or the kids sliding across the kitchen floor, practicing the moonwalk until they fell over laughing. Or the people who just needed a little hope and heard I'll be there, and it was enough. The real legacy? It's not the shiny trophies or the platinum records or the fancy plaques. It's how their music makes people feel, how it reaches right out, still, and reminds us that being alive isn't just about surviving, but about dancing and dreaming and feeling even when things are hard. Out of a small Indiana house came a story that touched the entire world. That's rare. That's special. And I really believe we're all better for having gotten to witness it, to be alive and listening as it happened.